All right, Morgan here with winterwarfare.com, and today I'm with Z from Zed Tactical, and we're at the Fernand Rod and Gun Club in North Idaho. And so Z's actually got a lot of experience with pistol, with shooting, LEO, and he's got some really good things to talk about today as far as cold weather tactics, cold weather pistol, and considerations with wearing gloves, shooting, and a whole lot more. So Z, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, so absolutely. It's no secret that my background right now currently is law enforcement. And as a law enforcement officer, the most critical task we have and tasked with is shooting our weapons accurately at the proper timing and occurrence that is required by the law. And when it comes to concealed carry, you also have that duty to protect yourself and to protect the people you're with, in my opinion. So today, unfortunately, in North Idaho, it's cold like 3 to 6 months out of the year. So if you only train in the indoor range, if you only dry fire in your heated house, you're really not getting the full shooting experience that you might be forced to in professionally as a law enforcement officer, or if you're going out in town and you have to defend yourself with the concealed carry that you're carrying. So the things I'm going to share with you guys today, none of the things that I'm sharing with you is going to be absolutely groundbreaking. However, I try to be very intentional with my shooting career. As a law enforcement officer, I've found a lot of law enforcement officers believe shooting is on the wayside is because there's so many other responsibilities we have. So I have a huge passion for performance shooting. And I just want to share with you guys some tips that I have that whenever I come to the range, I have a plan as well as I exceed at what I'm trying to accomplish. I try to be as intentional as possible because obviously ammunition and guns are expensive. Obviously I have to buy my own ammunition from training on my own time. So whenever you guys are feeling the squeeze and you're buying ammunition, when you come to the range, you want to use it for the best yield possible. And so the little tips and tricks that I have for you guys today, I think is going to suit you guys very well.
So even for me, former infantry veteran here, part of me having Zed out, and I'm very thankful to have Zed out with all of your experience, and that's the whole point, is that his experience is for me as well. It's not just for everybody watching out there. I'm okay at pistol. There's guys out there with a lot more experience that even I need to listen to, and I have things to learn from, and that might be something for you guys to remember. We deal with serious situations, and I think one good goal for all of us is to always try to up the knowledge base, up the game. And that's the whole point of having somebody with a little more experience. And so we're very thankful for that today, Zed. So with that, let's get started.
Yeah, let's get started. Let's do it.
All right. All right, and we also want to thank our partner, Wilder Tactical, and Zed's wearing the Wilder Tactical Minimalist Elite belt set today for the video shoot, which was one tiny little thing we wanted to include in the video, so we can talk about that in a little bit.
And just to point out, guys, I truly believe this is a really good belt, and we'll get into that more, as well as it's not available in just Alpine multicam, right? This is available in all the professional colors that you'll actually use. So today we're obviously demonstrating an Alpine. I think it looks really rad. It's the only piece of kit that I have in snow camouflage, but I just want you guys to know that this is available in all the professional colorways that you may need.
Yeah, check out Winter Warfare. Our whole goal is to have that one place for winter tactical gear, the hard to find winter camo items. And thanks again to Wilder Tactical.
Absolutely, thank you so much.
All right.
All right, guys, so the first thing that I like to talk about is grip. A lot of people, when I ask them to describe their grip, they just say, I grabbed the gun or something along the effects of that. And unfortunately, I don't think it's good enough. A lot of people, as a citizen or a professional, a lot of people become secondary to all the other responsibilities we have, even though this is the most critical a tool that we have on our belt at almost all times. So a lot of people, when they say they don't know how they grip the gun or they just grip the gun, I like to try to approach it with being intentional. So personally, how I grip the gun, how I teach people how to grip the gun, first off, when I grab the gun and I draw the gun, I get a high grip on that, as if I was shaking, my wife's hand for the first time ever. being really serious with that. The moment you start becoming flippant with this, the more excessive muzzle reaction you're going to have. So I grab this gun as high as possible, as if I was giving a nice firm handshake. Then a lot of people, they just come over here and they just grab the gun. They don't really think about it. They don't put a lot of effort into it. So what I do is this whole area that's exposed, I try to wedge the meaty part of my grip into that. And then not only am I squeezing this way, but I'm also pulling back and down with this hand. And what that does is that better engages the stippling or the tape or the actual knurling on the gun if you're shooting like a metal framed gun. If you just grab it, the tendency is to loosen up under recoil, and now you actually have a floating space in there. You could stick a finger in there, or you could stick, you know, a popsicle stick in there. So that's why when I grab the gun, as you see here, this is if I just grab the gun, there's now space in there. I actually bring that down into the gun. So then my hands are actually working together. It creates a vise, and then I don't have to squeeze as tight. It's because a lot of people, they just grab the gun and they squeeze it super tight. And then you'll get things like trigger freeze or trigger stutter, because now there's so much tension in your hands with very little meat on the gun that now your trigger finger starts slowing down, or with increased courses of fire, you're just gonna experience trigger stutter or trigger issues. So that's why when I grab the gun, nice firm grip, as much meat on the gun as possible, put my meaty part into the frame of the gun here, and then I bring it down and I shift it down. So I'm able to engage my fingers together, as well as I'm able to get more meat on that gun. So now, whenever I actually shoot the gun and I aim out, I have a fulcrum on the gun. I don't have to squeeze as tight, with more engagement on the gun, which allows me for more rapid follow-up shots. And I'll demonstrate real quick over here. All right, guys, so now that we've talked about grip, I'll just demonstrate real quick. When I come to the range, I have a pretty strict dry fire regimen. So whenever I approach range time, the only things I really need to do at the range is confirming my marksmanship that I've done a lot through dry fire, as well as recoil management. When it comes to weapon manipulation, reloads, draws, all that sort of thing, all of that should be done for free at home. It's kind of like having a home gym versus having to drive to a gym. Driving to a gym might allow you to have more access to more things, kind of like how we're able to shoot and move here in more space. However, the convenience of a home gym allows you to get more reps in without all that time. So the time spent driving to the gym now gets incorporated to your workout. Same thing with dry fire. You're able to get a lot more reps in with weapon manipulation, draws. So whenever you come to the range, you only focus on the things you can't do at home, namely being recoil control and confirming that marksmanship. If you watch The Modern Samurai, he talks about how if you zero at 10 yards with your RDS pistol, you're only going to be about an inch low at 25 yards. So we're at approximately 5 to 7 yards. And the reason why we're here to confirm is if you look through all the shooting data, citizens as well as law enforcement, unfortunately, this is the average distance that most shootings occur. So to circle back to the point at the beginning where I like to spend about 80% of my time at the range doing the monotonous things that I'm highly more likely to do, I think is more beneficial. So what we're gonna do right now is I have not warmed up at all today. I'm gonna shoot about 5 to 6 rounds per dot on that target just to see my zero. I don't chase my zero. This is also not ammunition I've zeroed with. So part of the reason why I check my marksmanship is to see what my holds are going to be for the day. So maybe I'm shooting some no-name SVT range reman, bullshit ammunition. I'm not going to change the zero for my duty ammunition just to shoot a little bit better at that range day. That's just how I've approached it. I usually set my zero for my primary ammunition, and I'll test it every couple of months depending on the weather conditions, because ammunition does vary depending on what time of the year you're shooting. So right now, what we're going to do is just going to shoot 5 to 6 rounds per dot. I'll shoot a couple rounds of that, and then I'll be able to gather some information. So keeping in mind all those things about that grip, that's what I'm going to do here. This is not on timer. This is just me trying to be intentional with marksmanship, right? So I got my grip, I build my grip. All right, so what we'll do is we'll set up the camera again and we'll go look at the target, and I'll just talk about what I felt during that process. Sweet. So my grip felt pretty good during that. I do shoot 124s primarily, and I'm shooting 147, so I do have a little bit more recoil that I can notice. However, this is not timed, as well as I'm just checking my marksmanship. So we see here, I have about 6 rounds here, 6 rounds here. So this could be just me pulling it today. I'm not pulling at all. However, I'm feeling pretty good at the 7-yard mark. I try to shoot small targets at small range to somewhat replicate bigger targets at larger range. So overall, today I'm feeling pretty good with my marksmanship. That grip felt great. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the camera back up, and now I'm gonna shoot approximately 30 yards at the center target to kind of see what I'm gonna do with a higher opportunity target, okay? All right, guys, so now that we've warmed up our close range without gloves, what we're gonna do is we're gonna immediately jump into approximately 25 to 30 yards. If you look at the shooting statistics, almost everything happens within 7 yards. So we wanna spend a lot of our time shooting small targets at close range to not only focus on that speed and performance, however, about 20% of the time we do wanna start shooting further with our handguns. A lot of people I know that conceal carry, they always refer to pistols as their secondaries just because they have rifles at homes, in the cars, etc. However, if you are out with your loved ones or you're out there in the community and you only have your pistol, guess what? That just became your primary. So a lot of people, 25 yards, 30 yards, 15 yards, 10 yards, their groups start to open up to an unreasonable amount. So that's why we do have to practice shooting. Like I said, this gun isn't zeroed for this 147 grain ball ammunition. I found that my holdovers are gonna be pretty close. Maybe that left shot group that I had was just me today. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna immediately cold start into 25 to 30 yards to see how right now, if I had to perform with this as my primary, how that would go, okay? Make sure this is loaded. No shot timer, taking my time. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll go down range and we'll talk about it. Like I said, that was a complete cold start. I haven't done any dry fire today, and the only rounds I fired were those last rounds at approximately 5 yards. All right, guys, so this is immediately after we just walked down the range to check my hits at about approximately 25 to 30 yards. And like I said, not zeroed for this ammunition. This is to basically develop my holdovers or my hold unders for the range day. This is approximately 8-inch circle, and even though all the rounds are not stacked in the center, I didn't shoot super fast. I also didn't shoot super slow. So I feel like this is a more than acceptable grouping for cold start with ammunition that's not zeroed, as well as my hands are cold, which is why this next portion we're gonna do is shooting with gloves and giving yourself some more of that comfort factor out there. If you're out there at training, if you're on a call out, if you're standing outside, or if you find yourself working outside and have to defend yourself. So the first thing we'll talk about is when it comes to warming up, that's how, I just showed you guys how about 9 months out of the year, how my range trips go. However, today, because I'm with my great partner, Winter Warfare, we're gonna talk about some glove considerations, because obviously once it's colder outside, your hands are gonna be exposed to the elements and your shooting is gonna depreciate at a higher rate than any other weather conditions. So right now, my hands are getting colder. And as that goes on, my performance is obviously gonna drop, is because these do all the fine motor skills, while all of your larger body parts do the gross motor skills. When it comes to gloves, there's a bunch of different ideas on gloves, but specifically in law enforcement, this is something that I found. I do have duty gloves right here. These are unlined, just duty gloves if I gotta go hands-on with somebody, and these are warmer and significantly better than no glove. However, something I also have is I have unlined Gore-Tex gloves. The reason why I have unlined Gore-Tex gloves is I have found that the easiest way my hands get cold is whenever the wind is coming through, as well as that just robs your body's ability to make heat. So having a unlined Gore-Tex gloves blocks all of that wind, allows your hand to heat itself, and as long as you're not outside for a super extended long period, this glove is warm enough, as well as, because it's not insulated, there's gonna be less material between your finger interacting with that trigger. And something that we're gonna bring up is every single time you add these tolerance stacking up, now you have gloves, do you have 2 pairs of gloves on, do you have insulated gloves, do you have mittens on, you have to practice shooting with that. I know for my personal shooting career that for about 5 years, the moment any snow touched the ground, I would not do any shooting outside. I would continue to dry fire inside, which is great. However, I wouldn't practice with this cold weather gear. I would have it, I would have the gloves, but I just wouldn't use it, is because we spend most of our times shooting without gloves. So something you can do is start with dry fire at home. You don't have to get super uncomfortable, and you can just get the feeling of your glove, whichever glove that you have, because all gloves are different, the stitching, the quality materials, the thicknesses. So whatever glove that you put onto your kit, you have to practice with dry fire, and then confirm all of that dry fire work with live fire. The cool thing about coming out to the range in the cold is not only do I get that fine motor skills being attacked by the cold, but then I also have the gross motor skills being attacked by the cold as well. And something I feel that you'll experience yourself is you'll be able to keep the gross motor skills a lot longer than these fine motor skills. So putting in the work with dry fire and then confirming at the range with live fire is something that you have to do if you're going to carry a gun seriously, or if you're a professional and you want to be able to protect yourself, your loved ones, or the community that you are protecting. So what we're going to do here now is we're going to shoot with my duty gloves. We'll shoot the same exact target real quick, and then we'll put on the Gore-Tex gloves, shoot the target as well, because the more things you have on your kit, the more responsibilities you have to practice with it. You can't just put something on your kit. You can't just have a piece of equipment and not test it at all. All right, guys, so sweet. Now we're going to talk about, obviously it's cold outside, and it's your responsibility to train with the gear that you have. So if you're somebody that has gloves on their kit, regardless of hot weather or cold weather, you need to put some rounds in that. I like to do a lot of that with dry fire. Not only does dry fire allow you to break in your gloves and get them more comfortable, as well as it spares you the growing pains and learning curve it requires to shoot off gloves. Is because regardless of the glove, even if you get some really thin gloves that don't protect your hands that much, everything adds extra things to your trigger process. It's going to feel a little bit different, and it's your burden to have the familiarity and the intimacy with your weapon system with your gloves. So what we're going to do right now is I've got some brand new, to me, patrol gloves. These things are barely broken in, and this is already warmer. So this is going to allow me to have those fine motor skills for much longer, even though they're not lined, they don't have Gore-Tex in them. These are just to protect my hands. So what we're going to do right now is, just like working out at the gym, you don't just throw 315 on the bar and do back squats or deadlifts. You want to work your way up. So using that principle of spending 80% of our time doing what we're most likely to do, what we're going to do right now is we're going to shoot at approximately 5 to 7 yards, but now with gloves, and we're going to take a mental note on how the trigger feels, how the grip feels. Am I doing all the fundamentals that I need to, so that if I have to do it at speed with accuracy, I'm able to do so, okay? All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down range and we're gonna talk about what I felt with the trigger press with the gloves on, okay? All right, guys, so one thing I do want to hit on is, just because you're familiar and comfortable with shooting with one particular brand of glove, every glove you put on, especially if you get a new pair, is gonna feel differently. So when it comes to the groups that I shot, I had some highs and I had some lows. When I actually did my process, I was focusing on my grip, getting a good grip, good sight picture, sight alignment, and I actually felt these rounds go a little too soon in the recoil process, is because of the tolerance stacking the glove induces. It does take some space out of that glove, and if you're somebody that skips off that trigger during the recoil process, you could have something like that where you're shooting a little too soon. And then when the round's a little low, same thing. That trigger press is slightly different with this. It's something that I don't practice as much as I do without gloves. So this is why you need to practice, is because sure, these misses or these highs aren't bad here. However, now that we're going to go to the approximately 25 to 30 yard range, as this group opens up, those things can be more significant. So that's why we did the warm-up at 5 to 7 yards, to give ourselves a better warm-up to now try to cold start 25 to 30 yards with some gloves, okay? All right, guys, so now that we've warmed up at approximately 5 to 7 yards with a new to me pair of gloves, and we kind of got that trigger feel and starting to build that process of becoming intimate with that particular set of gun, or that particular set of gloves and that particular gun, now we're going to skip to 25 yards and see how those highs and those lows that I experienced at 5 to 7 potentially affect me at this distance, okay? I'm going to shoot the top left target, and we're going to see how it goes. All right, this felt pretty good. I feel like all those rounds are within that 8-inch circle. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down there and we're gonna talk about it. Again, guys, I just want to encourage you guys to get outside regardless of the weather conditions. If it's raining, snowing, muddy, or just absolutely horrendous out, get out there and train. It's your responsibility to be familiar and comfortable with what those environments are going to do to you and your performance. Just like how we're out here today. It's freezing out, we got gloves on, and we're doing our best to bring you guys content to make you better, to encourage you, so that you can protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community. So right here, we're shot at approximately 25 to 30 yards. You know, new to me patrol gloves. And I, with both of these groups in mind, no gloves and my patrol gloves, I am starting to, you know, shoot high left. High left could be a bunch of different things. Also, it's something to consider that this is ammunition I'm not zeroed for. However, as being a cold start, as well as all rounds being an 8-inch circle, that is still the approximate size of a face at 25 yards. So this is, in my opinion, more than acceptable, and I don't really try to get my panties in a bunch chasing a zero, just because I know a lot of guys that they chase their zero with different batches of ammo, and then the moment they switch to a new batch of ammo, they have all sorts of problems, and then you have to spend all that money on that good ammunition to then re-zero your gun with your duty ammunition. So today, I'll be shooting the rest of the day, knowing that this is going to be my hold, and that I may have to account for that, okay? All right, guys, quick something to consider. There are all sorts of different types of gloves there on the market. So when it comes to shooting a pistol and being intimate with how your pistol is going to operate with those gloves, something like these outdoor research gloves are going to be great for bigger weapons, rifles, etc., things that have bigger trigger wells, as well as with a rifle or a shoulder-fired weapon. Because you have more points of contact, you're going to be able to get away with a few more things when it comes to that trigger press. Because you have no other points of contact for your handgun besides your two hands and, you know, all the things that we talked about earlier with our grip, as well as a smaller trigger well, something like these gloves may not be the best option to shoot your pistol with that performance that we would want out of a handgun. It's because unfortunately handguns are bad at stopping bad guys, so we should try to push the bleeding edge of performance with our handguns so that if we're forced to use such a tool, that we get the most performance out of it. So these are outdoor research gloves. These are insulated. These are also probably waterproof or water resistant. However, if you already look how bulky the trigger finger is, the other fingers, if I was to draw my handgun, you're going to have a harder time sometimes with these bigger winter gloves in a pistol. Now there are pistols with bigger trigger wells, but again, the whole point of this video today is to encourage you to go out there to train with your equipment and be able to get after it, knowing that whatever you have on your belt or in your car or in your rig will actually work with what you carry or what you have in your kit. So what I've found over the years is, as long as I'm not going to be out there in the winter for a very, very long time, I have found a lot of success with the outdoor research gloves. I believe these are the Iron Lords or something like that. Let's see real quick. Can't tell. However, these are Gore-Tex gloves that are unlined. So the Gore-Tex is going to prevent that wind from robbing your body of that heat and allow your body to actually maintain its heat as long as you have calories, as long as you're not out there for an extended period of time. As well as just holding these side to side, you can tell that one glove is a lot more bulky than this glove. And when it comes to performance shooting, if you're trying to keep things as streamlined as possible, to basically be as close to non-glove shooting as possible, having less stuff between you and your trigger is going to be advantageous to be able to keep that speed and that performance that we desire. So, like I said, if you're shooting a rifle or a larger shoulder-fired weapon, as well as you're going to be outside for a lot longer than maybe 12 to 24 hours, then these gloves are amazing. But my challenge to you is, if you're somebody that carries a pistol, if you're somebody that's going to be cold out there, try your gloves with your pistols, because you might surprise yourself and find out it doesn't work, or that speed and performance that you're able to manage isn't there. And then I also challenge you guys to possibly go out and try a unlined Gore-Tex glove to see if it's allowing you to be as warm as you need to be able to have the fine motor skills in your trigger press while having less disadvantages in trigger press, which is obviously one of the most finest detail things that we do on a handgun. So what we're going to do right now is, just like working out, we're going to warm up our groups at that 7-yard mark with these Gore-Tex unlined gloves. So when I mean unlined, I mean it just has the Gore-Tex. It has a little bit of fuzzy material in there. However, ultimately, this is going to be a much thinner glove than some of these large insulated gloves. So right here, we have our, outdoor research Gore-Tex gloves, as well as something that I've added is these S carabiners. As I've had sewn onto some of my uniforms as well as some of my jackets a loop, so that I could actually attach my gloves to my jacket or to my uniform, so that if I have to do a critical task that I need some more finer dexterity, I could actually just hang my my glove, do my thing, and put the glove back on. So it's little things like this that will make your performance with, you know, your pistol, your rifle, a lot easier. Investing the time to actually train with it is because until I actually started going outside and training in the winter time, I would have my gloves stuffed somewhere else, or I would take it off, put it on the ground, or put it in a pocket and then lose it. So actually attaching my gloves to my jacket or my uniform top has been huge. It's because then I could just take the glove off. I could have an underglove if I really needed to, a nice thin insulated underglove. And now with an insulated underglove plus a Gore-Tex thin glove, I basically have an insulated glove, but then I could just take off one layer really quick and still have acceptable speed and accuracy that I desire. So that's a tip that I wanted to share with you guys, is actually tethering your gloves to your kit. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna warm up at that 5 to 7 yards to see how this glove with this pistol, with this ammunition in this current weather performs. All right, now we'll go down range and we'll talk about it. All right, guys, so talking about gloves real quick, we just shot with the unlined Gore-Tex gloves. Previously, we shot with my patrol gloves, and the first thing we did today was shoot without gloves, is because if you don't have gloves, there is about 15 to 20 minutes where you're able to shoot pretty well outside in the cold, but then your hands rapidly get cold, which then reduces your performance, is because shooting is a fine motor skill. So something I like to talk about is, obviously we're the most comfortable without gloves, regardless, is because you spend more time doing it. Then the next thing I'm most comfortable with is my patrol gloves, is because I wear these a lot more often than my special purpose gloves. However, depending on the weather conditions, I'll have both of these. And then it's up to me, with my training and experience, to know what I'm more intimate with. So something like this felt more like my normal trigger press. I felt pretty good shooting this. I did have some slip ups, right? However, that's why we go out and train and confirm our dry fire work with live fire. I will say that even though these are unlined Gore-Tex gloves, these are gonna be obviously bulkier than my patrol gloves. And when I shot this group, sure, the group might actually be tighter. However, that's just because I'm more warmed up now. However, the trigger press actually felt way worse and a lot shorter with these bigger, bulkier gloves, as well as I felt the glove actually rubbing in that trigger well. And you know, I would have never discovered that if I didn't dry fire with these, as well as if I didn't come out and shoot with them. So that's why ultimately I want to encourage you guys that if you're going to carry gloves that you always have on with you, as well as if you're going to carry special purpose gloves, depending on the environment that you're in, you need to be trained with both. And ultimately, it's your responsibility to be able to shoot with good performance with whatever you have on your body. All right, guys, so totally today, we worked on fundamentals executed, you know, with speed potentially here at Fernand Gun Club. So I just want to take a moment real quick to thank Fernand Rod and Gun Club for allowing us to film. I want to thank Winter Warfare for Austin for having me on out. I also want to thank Wilder Tactical for providing the belt. I truly do believe this belt has some things that we're going to go into further with some more information about how it's actually a really well-designed belt. And ultimately, it's your responsibility to get out here and train, regardless of the weather, and become intimate with your gear. So remember, if you're going to add that newest cool piece of kit to your gear, that's a new thing you have to train with. And almost all this stuff can be done with effectively with dry fire. So when you come out to the range, try to be a good steward of the money that you've spent on ammunition, and have a plan to actually work on those core skills that you're more likely to use, instead of doing the flashy Instagram drills, all right? Thank you again, Winter Tactical, for Winter Warfare, for having me out here. Have a good day. All right, guys, so first thing we're gonna talk about is obviously the Wild Tactical belt. I think for the money, you're gonna be very hard pressed to find a more well-rounded belt. What I mean by that is, I'll get into it as I show you guys more belts, but basically over the course of the last 15 years, all of my belts have basically gotten to the point where, as a right-handed shooter, I've got 2 pistol, a rifle, a dump, and some sort of way to carry medical. Unfortunately, it's costed a lot of time as well as a lot of money to get to that point. And one thing that I think is really cool that Wild Tactical offers is just being able to get a full kit. Not only do you get a really good inner belt, but you also get a foam inner belt as well. So not only can you wear this with rain gear, snow gear, over your hoodie, if you're in gym shorts, if you're just walking around the property or clearing your mom's basement, allows you to have a sticky material in there that actually adheres and doesn't slip around. As well as one thing I really like about the Wild Tactical belt is the inner belt is actually also stiff. So I'm able to hold the edge and have it support itself. So a lot of belts are stiff, but then the inner belt is also soft. So that you have basically the stiff belt outside of a soft inner belt, and sometimes that could distribute the load pretty weird depending on your hip structure. And I've just found that the Wild Tactical actually having a stiff inner belt that doesn't crush but is still very flexible is awesome. Another thing that I really like about this belt is how it secures. So instead of having a G-hook or a buckle, the inner belt is secured by a steel oval, and this doesn't get up into your gut. This doesn't actually cause holes to develop in your pants, and this is very comfortable, as well as it's tapered, so it's not just a straight cut. And this design right here, obviously this is kept in by Velcro, as well as the pressure of the actual outside belt, so it's not going anywhere. And then it's also really easy to adjust, so that if you need more space, less space, etc., you're able to just make it work. So that is some quick things about the Wild Tactical belt. So I've got two of my belts here, this Coyote Brown as well as this black. The black one is my actual duty belt. This is something that I wear pretty much every day when I'm working. And then the Coyote belt is just for, LARPing in my mom's basement or having fun at the range, but there's a lot of carryover as well as the same base belt. And then, excuse me, this is Lady Z's belt. This is actually my wife's belt, which is why it's a little bit smaller. But something you can see from the multicam black to the Ranger green, all the way to my duty belt, is that first portion in front of my left hip as a shooter stays the same. So that's why I think it's so awesome that Wild Tactical comes with something that pretty much anybody that shoots guns gets to the point where that's how they set that up. Is you got your primary speed load for your primary weapon system. We'll work with AKs, we'll work with any sort of weapon system that you are shooting, as well as obviously the M4, as well as dual pistol. Also, I like running a dump pouch. Dump pouches are actually very, very useful, contrary to what the online says. It's because you never know when you need to just put something in something. So the fact that the Wild Tactical belt comes with a really nice dump pouch that doesn't close on itself, and it kind of has a stiffener that allows you to actually put stuff in it, I find it superior to than even these Blue Force gears. The reason why I run the Blue Force gears on my personal belts is only because at the time they were the smallest dump pouch available. It doesn't take up much space, but the Wild Tactical I do believe is superior, because whenever I open up this dump pouch and it actually becomes open, the actual inside tab right here that can close it could also be used to keep it from actually closing. So I think that's really cool, versus if I deploy a Blue Force gear, it's just a sack and there's nothing keeping it open or closed. So even though I like these, I have them on all my belts, I do believe that the belt, or the Wild Tactical one that it comes with the belt, is superior for a lot of things. It's because I think dump pouches are just super useful. One thing I want to touch about is the Ferro Concepts, which is obviously these belts, my personal belts. They come with the inner belt. It can be adjusted with Velcro on this side. And I've just found that over time that this buckle can be basically off-cantered and either start developing a hole in your pants or just kind of right up into your gut, even if you're a fat guy or a skinny guy, that this buckle is just not as good as the Wild Tactical. As well as this thing, though it is flexible, offers no extra support. If I grab the Wild Tactical inner belt, not only is it still flexible, but I can't crush it. It's uncrushable, so it actually helps support that weight, which I very much enjoy. So when it comes to buying yourself a tactical belt, you can always just buy yourself a base belt, spend the time, spend the effort finding out what works for you, or in my opinion, the fact that everyone eventually goes to some sort of double pistol, rifle, dump pouch, going with the Wild Tactical is kind of a no-brainer. When it comes to this belt over here, we'll talk about some more of the nuances about this tactical belt. So right here, obviously here's the inside of the belt, and we kind of get an underview of how the pouches attach. The only thing I don't like about the Wild Tactical belt is, though this securement method is superior to MOLLE, to WTF straps, to malice clips, it's superior to all of those, which I think is a huge pro. It's very hard to actually mount MOLLE pouches on this. You do have the opportunity to go between the stiffeners here. However, then you only have essentially one segment of MOLLE. So by buying this kit, you get all the pouches essentially that you need. You only need a little bit more pouches if you have some special mission considerations. So if you buy the base belt, I just recommend going with the full kit because you get what everyone's gonna put on there anyways, as well as it's kind of a little hard to put your own MOLLE pouches on this. And like I said, this securement method that Wild Tactical uses, I believe is superior to any MOLLE, any straps on the market. If you also buy the full kit, you get this sweet inner belt that allows you to wear it over rain gear, snow gear, etc., without compressing the properties that keep you waterproof or warm. So that's a huge pro. One thing that I also really like about this is the laminate material they use. Not only is it really light and strong, but this doesn't absorb water. That may not seem like that big of a deal, but if you're out there and you're just getting rained on, or if you're out there in the snow and it's melting on you, having accumulation of moisture really sucks. So the actual material, I think, is awesome. One thing I don't like is, though this hardware is strong enough, and I myself have hung off of this myself, being able to do a pull-up off of it, this is a little small for my liking. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence when you first pick it up, but then like I said, I highly recommend testing it. Unlike the Pharaoh, which uses obviously the 1.75 inch Cobra buckle, this uses basically the smallest one possible. They also use the same hardware on their drop leg, which brings me to the next point, where this under belt line mount, I think, is one of the best on the market. I like the fact that it's polymer, so it's gonna flex instead of bend into place like some of the aluminum drop panels they have nowadays. As well as I believe the offset is perfect. It's just got like approximately 1/2 inch of offset so you can attach your QLS forks to. As well as what I really like about this is the leg swivels. This keeps it to your leg. It allows the belt to be more secure, but the gun stays in the same place. So regardless of position that you're drawing the gun from, it stays consistent. And consistency is everything when it comes to performance shooting. So not only do you get the comfort of the leg strap swiveling and actually truly being comfortable if you're moving, but then you get the awesome properties of polymer, like being able to cant your gun without it bending. Is because I've seen some of those aluminum drop legs bend and then you're SOL, you're stuck in that position. So I think the biggest pro of this belt is actually this drop leg, and I actually fully intend to use this on my duty belt here shortly, and we can get into that here in a second. So if you look here on my duty belt, I'm going to maintain this holster. This is what we issue. I love the Rapid Force holster. However, what I'm not in love with is this drop leg. The drop leg is more comfortable in the actual vehicle. You're taking it off of the actual QD real quick. So it allows the gun to articulate more, which is more comfortable. However, because this is fully articulating, the gun could be anywhere from here to here. And that's a lot of inconsistency that could be just put into the system based off of where your leg happens to be in time. Unlike the Wild Tactical, which allows it to be articulating with the important part, which is the leg strap, but the gun always stays indexed properly. So the Wild Tactical fulcrums from here, while the Rapid Force moves from the top. So I do believe that's a superior design. Okay. So just to go over it again, I've spent a lot of money, time, energy, and effort in setting up my belts basically in this way that almost everyone sets their belts in, and you could save a lot of time and money by just buying a full set from Wild Tactical. So now what we'll do is we'll talk about some cold weather considerations on the range. So these are some things that I wanted to bring up real quick because it's a little hard to show on the range with gunshots going off. But these are the patrol gloves I was demonstrating. They have some padding, they've got some leather, but they're not insulated for cold weather. However, just by putting a glove on like this, you significantly increase the time that you're able to be outside in the cold and still have good performance because it does act as an insulating level. Then when it came to those Gore-Tex gloves, this is a close-up of the Gore-Tex glove. It has no actual lining in it, technically, even though there's a little bit of fuzziness. However, it's much thinner than a truly insulated glove. And this is what I wanted to show you guys. So I've had this little loop sewed into my uniforms, as well as some jackets have it, or you could actually have it sewn into your jacket. This allows me to S-carabiner my special purpose glove onto my jacket so that if I have to take it off to do a more sensitive task that takes more dexterity that the glove allows you to do, I don't lose my glove. As well as if I'm gonna wear undergloves and have these over, because like I said, these are special purpose gloves, I could shed the special purpose glove and go back down to my range glove. Or have no glove and just run this. So if I combine both of these, I basically have an insulated glove. If I just want one or the other, I believe this is better for shooting, or I could go straight to just bearskin out in the weather conditions, depending on how critical the task is at hand. Something that's not super tactical, but I think is really, really important, is you can't get yourself a tactical hand warmer. This is one that I've had forever. It's $5. I don't wear this while working. I only wear this at the range or in a position where I just need to keep my hands warm and I don't want to wear gloves. So getting yourself a proper tactical hand warmer will allow you to use this operationally, but getting something like this, wearing it behind you, just allows you to maintain that performance shooting that you're accustomed to your hands being warm if the environment's kind of shitty out. So that's why I recommend having a hand warmer and having it tucked underneath your belt, is so that if it's time to practice at the range and it's cold out and you're there, good on you, this allows you to practice and keep that up. All right, next segment real quick, guys. This is just something you guys, we could talk about a few more things. First, we'll talk about magazine pouches, and then we'll talk about the helmet here in a second. So this kit wasn't featured in the video. However, I do believe this is important to talk about. Your life should probably not depend on how fast you could speed load a rifle or a pistol. You should probably be doing, administrative loads when the time and opportunity allows. However, just because this has a flap does not mean it's significantly slower than an unflapped magazine pouch. So for example, sure, this one, there's one less motion. I just have to grab it, pull it, and go. However, when it comes to training outside in adverse environments, this is just so bad. Everyone in the tactical community just doesn't understand that having open bottom mag pouches and having no way to protect the magazine, sure, on the flat range, on a timer, it's a little bit faster. I'm not arguing that, that's not the point. The point is having your ammunition exposed, having your magazines exposed is so easily covered by flat magazine pouches, and with proper tactics and application of those tactics, you don't have to worry about a speed load. So that's why my primary actual vest, I have flapped magazine pouches, is so that regardless if it's raining out, if it's muddy, if it's snowing, or if I'm just going to be training hard, my magazines stay protected, because ultimately those magazines are going to feed your rifle, and your rifle is going to save your life and allow you to take the appropriate actions against whatever you're doing. So that's just a quick point on actual primary rifle magazine pouches, as well as with handgun pouches. There's some open top elastic pouches that will allow ingress of debris and snow that sure might be a little bit faster, but like even the industry standard S-Tac magazine right here, the bottom is not completely open. So that's going to protect your magazine more than some of these elastic pouches that may be faster, but then just the bottom's completely open. Now sure, stuff can get up in there eventually, but this has a little bit more protection for your pistol magazine than a traditional like elastic one. Then when it comes to the helmet, I've spent a lot of my time wearing an OpsCore high cut, probably approximately 5 years, training pretty heavily in an OpsCore helmet. And depending on the environment that you're training in, you're going to develop helmet steam, which eventually turns into either pad freeze or your head just being extremely, extremely hot. So that's why a couple years ago I went with the Cry airframe, which somehow I believe is the best kept secret in the tactical industry. Simply put, it's the only ballistic helmet that has an internal vent right here. And what that vent allows it to do is it allows it to passively cool as well as shed heat. So if you're super, super cold out, it allows you to stay warm and dry. If it's super, super hot out, it allows you to stay dry and cool. So if I flip the helmet over, you can see that that is where the shell overlaps. And they've done plenty of ballistic testing that no, you're not gonna get shot through this tiny little slit and somehow hit your head. That's why the helmet shells are set a certain way. Also, I have a big theme about trying to be as comfortable as possible, which is why I went with these lattice pads, which can't freeze and it can't absorb water. So regardless of it being super, super cold or super, super hot, I combined this pad system with this helmet, and regardless of the conditions I am in, it's super comfortable. I used to wear my helmet during trainings for many, 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 many hours, and I would just have to thug out or deal with the helmet steam or the helmet freeze from that. Ever since I switched this helmet approximately 2 to 3 years ago, all of that has gone away. And so that's why when it comes to spending your hard-earned money and being as comfortable as possible, I just wanted to show you that tip. As well as a lot of people are very quick to put gel cups onto their ear pro, which are more comfortable and they do increase the decibel rating. However, sometimes those gel pads could actually freeze if you're super cold out, and they start to lose their effectiveness. So that's why I actually, for this winter shoot that we did, I went back to the foam cups so that I'd have good performance. Sure, the foam isn't as good as the gel, but the gel can actually freeze as well. If you take your helmet off, leave it for a little bit and put it back on, that gel is going to be rock hard against your head, and it's just not going to be as comfortable as I've found going back to the foam. Now, once the weather is nice again, I'll probably put the gel back in there, but for right now, I just have the foam. So that's just some things I wanted to show you guys that it's going to be a little bit hard to show you on the range. Shout out Wild Tactical for providing this belt. Please check out their website and see what kind of packages they offer you. They have all sorts of different patterns, pouches, attachments for regardless of what you guys are running. And I truly believe Wild Tactical is a one-stop shop for tactical considerations like your belt. Alright guys, so the call to action, and as well as to finish up this video for you guys, is I really want you guys to go seek out winterwarfare.com. They have all sorts of different Wild Tactical products available, and obviously this awesome Snow Alpine multicam, as well as other patterns as you see fit. It's a local business to me. You have to support, people that have the same values as you. So please check out winterwarfare.com and see if that suits your needs, and you're going to be able to get squared away with something like this that you see. Hi guys, my name is Z of Zed Tactical. I'm out here for Winter Warfare, and shout out Wilder Tactical.